Cybersecurity. It may sound like a field for IT experts, people who've been coding since they could walk. But the truth is somewhere else. Not everyone in cybersecurity has a technical background. There are people who come from psychology, understanding how the human mind works, people from law who understand regulations and policy, and even arts and writing have their place in social engineering or user-focused attacks. And the attacks are real. Ransomware holding businesses hostage, phishing emails tricking people into giving away sensitive information, and even malware infecting systems worldwide. Cybersecurity needs all kinds of professionals combating these threats, not just engineers. Welcome to Unlocked 403, your favorite cybersecurity podcast brought to you by ESET. This is season 2. My name is Bex, and I'll be your host today. And to answer the question, how do I get into cybersecurity? With me today, I have Robo Lipowski, who is and I have to read this, Principal Threat Intelligence Researcher. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
We've had you on the podcast before. If you haven't seen that episode, make sure to go watch it. It'll probably be somewhere floating around. We touched upon this topic before, but I want to get more into it, how to get into the field that we work in. First off, short intro, threat research, threat intelligence. You also have some people that you manage. Who are you?
So, I've been at ESET for quite a long time now, for quite a few years, and throughout this journey, 18 years this year. Yeah.
Wow.
And throughout this journey, I basically, my role evolved from analyzing different types of malware, representing the company, also presenting about some of our findings, doing publications, writing about things, and managing people. So
we spoke a little bit before we started filming that you didn't start your career in cybersecurity. So how exactly was that?
Yeah, so I was studying computer science at the Slovak University of Technology here in Bratislava. And during my studies, I was looking for jobs, part-time jobs as a student. Eventually, I joined ESET. But before that, I actually was traveling and visiting the ESET premises in a different location that we are right now as an English teacher, actually. So I was so my first role was totally unrelated to cybersecurity. So that was a different company. So I was working part time there.
That was while you were still a student.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were basically teaching English to different companies, and one of those companies was ESET, and that's how, of course, I knew the name, I knew the company before, but that's how I kind of got to talking to different people in ESET and kind of sparked the idea that probably pursuing this path is, of course, much more aligned to what my actual interests are, that I was studying this, and there were job openings, and the rest is history.
And the rest is an 18-year-old history.
Yeah.
Wow. Just to start us off, I have, and I'm going to call them stupid questions. So I want you to answer yes or no, okay? Ready?
Yeah.
These are quick. Do you have to wear a hoodie and sit in a dark room to be taken seriously as a cybersecurity professional?
No, but you can.
You can. It's quite cool. If I put tape over my webcam, does that mean I'm unhackable?
No, but it helps.
With?
It helps with someone taking over your camera and looking at you, but it's not the only way for to get hacked.
If you Google how to hack, will the FBI show up at your door?
Probably not.
Sad. I always wanted to meet them. If I use incognito mode, does that mean no one can track me?
No, it doesn't.
If I unplug my Wi-Fi every night, does that mean hackers can't get to me?
No, it doesn't.
My parents always did that when we were kids. But I don't know if it was for protection or to get us off the internet.
Yeah, probably the latter.
Yeah. Is knowing how to break into your friend's Wi-Fi password a solid qualification for getting hired in cybersecurity?
No.
If you work in cybersecurity, are you automatically the IT guy for your entire family forever?
Yes.
Yes. If you accidentally click on a phishing email, does it mean you're banned from working in cybersecurity for life?
No.
It happens to the best of us because they're very sneaky. Do you need a giant glowing map of the world with blinky dots to call yourself a cybersecurity professional? Speaking from experience.
No, you don't. But yeah, we call these pew pew maps, and
Pew pew?
Yeah,
As
they're-
in the sound that
Yeah,
dots make?
pew 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 pew.
Cute.
Yeah.
And we have one of those rooms, by the way. It looks cool.
I mean, of course, the visualizations that we have that we use visualize like our data and so have some actual meaning to it. But there's a lot of pew pew maps just for effect and
Understood. But it can show you, like, for example, if there's a lot of detections in certain regions and stuff, right? Like it will
Yeah.
glow red a bit more, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah. Last question. Is it true that all cybersecurity professionals carry USB sticks like secret agents in spy movies?
No.
I thought that before I joined this company, and I was very sad when I didn't get my USB. Now you work as a principal threat intelligence researcher, which is a really cool title, by the way. But you also manage people. So, and you said it kind of evolved from threat analysis into now like representing the company and managing people. What does a typical day look like for someone like you?
Yeah, typical days. There are days that are not so typical. So that's one of the major things that I like about my work is that
Yeah.
it's interesting and it's not stereotypical. But okay, so if I were to classify a typical day, then I spend a big portion of my time basically following what's going on in the cybersecurity world. So I follow. Of course, I follow our own research. So I have meetings both in person and online with my team, with other teams in the company to follow what we are doing, where we stand with things that we are researching at the moment. But I also follow what other people in the industry are publishing, what topics are current at the moment, so that of course they have the ability to kind of steer the research direction basically, and so a lot of it is just basically following the news, but not news like the typical politics and then like the regular news, but
that is part of it, isn't it?
but specific like industry news, let's say, and kind of like this niche. So what has that APT been up to, or what are the latest trends ransomware gangs are or techniques ransomware are using? So these are the things that I spend most of my time on.
Do you ever do malware hunting now? Very rarely.
Not
at
directly.
all?
Not directly, no. So I work with the researchers. I enable them to do their work, and they're doing the malware hunting. But it's not just malware hunting that we do. It's a whole cycle, like we call it, this research cycle. So it typically begins with the hunting phase, and when something interesting happens, when some, let's say, APT group that we're tracking has been active, has some new methods, new malware, for example, then the second phase of that is analysis. So that's the most technical part of the job.
So that's what you used to do at the beginning?
Yes, I do. So that's the reverse engineering bit. So analyzing what the code is doing exactly, what are the new developments that they introduced. And then we make use of those findings somehow. We feed that back to other teams who are responsible for protecting our customers, for example. So that's the detection engineers, for example. We, if it's some really innovative technique, we make or propose improvement to our detection engine, for example. There's also other outputs are our threat intelligence reports, which is part of our offering for select customers. Also, some of the output is made public, so we talk about it at conferences. We write our blog, We Live Security, and then basically we create rules. Let's call them simple notifications for us to be alerted whenever any new developments of these threats that we're tracking come up, for the cycle to kind of start again,
Okay.
basically.
A lot of people have their own perception of what cybersecurity is like, and when you talk about it like this, it sounds like all fascinating. And like I said at the beginning, like a guy in a black hoodie in a dark room with green numbers, like Matrix. That's not always the case. I'm sure you encounter myths about our field as well. So, what are some of the most common ones that get to you?
Well, I should mention that of course, cybersecurity is just only a part of IT,
Yes.
and for the general public, people don't necessarily realize the differences, the nuances. But even cybersecurity on its own is a very, very broad field. So
True.
even within cybersecurity, you have different roles, different specializations. You have malware researchers, analysts. So a lot of the things that I talked about.
Communicators.
Yes, exactly. You have more technical roles. You have less
Exactly.
technical roles.
Yeah.
And of course, people who don't see into the field don't recognize this. So like a typical thing would be, okay, I have a problem with my computer. Can you? I'm not like people expecting you to be their IT support.
Yes. Even if you don't have the technical background, and it happens to all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the best place to start?
Pick a starting point, like start somewhere, and start studying, learning things that interest you. Nowadays, there are so many resources compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much, but now there are excellent courses, excellent books. A lot of those courses, like both paid and free courses as well. Really good literature, really good stuff on the internet, blogs, whatever. So there's a ton of really high quality information out there.
Podcasts.
Podcasts, of course. So you can ingest knowledge in so many ways nowadays, and there are a lot of fun ways to do it. So very popular ways of improving your skill set is participating in CTFs, capture the flag
Yeah.
types of contests, doing various exercises that we call crack me's, which are basically challenges. You have to crack some code. You have to discover some password in order to advance to the next level. So a lot of these things are gamified, which makes the learning more efficient, more fun. So that's what I would suggest to start, and basically if it catches your interest, then I think the ball will start rolling and you'll start learning more and more.
Are technical skills actually important?
So it really depends on the specific roles, as I said. So even cybersecurity is very broad, and there are, of course, for the technical roles that we have, they are absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you want to be a reverse engineer, malware threat analyst, then yes, that is important. But also, like I would say, the skill set is different. Like even within that, there are specialization. You can specialize in different platforms. You can analyze things for Windows, for Mac OS, for mobile platforms, Android, iOS, whatever. So many paths you can take. And there are also less technical roles. You can work on improving awareness, like you are doing. So which is super important. I mean, because even protecting users, internet citizens,
Yeah.
is not just about the technical means, but it's about thinking before they click on something, and that's super important.
I agree.
Even if I go to, like, I talk a lot because it's one of my major focuses is APT research. When we talk about nation states attacking other nation states, spying on other nation states, doing sabotage against other nation states. So yeah, the people who are analyzing the techniques, the malware that they're using. Those are the technical roles. But then there are roles which look at the threat intelligence from a more strategic perspective, look at the geopolitical aspects of all of these operations. There are many different ways. So I would say it's all about finding your own path and what's best suited for you.
Exactly. Like just at ESET, we have former diplomats, former movie makers, former, I don't know, mathematicians, IT crowd, and so on and so on. People from marketing, lots of different things. So yeah, it's a really diverse landscape just within a company, and I'm guessing that's the truth for all of these types of companies. Let's say I just finished university with a technical background, kind of like you were. Which technical types of jobs would I be applying to? Should I go straight for threat analysis like you did?
If that's what interests you, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I would say each of the different roles, they can either go really in depth into something, or they can have a more broader coverage. So like, for example, what I'm doing is more broad because I'm not a super expert in this particular as a different platform. So I'm not the biggest expert in Android malware, for example. We have better experts for that, or any other types of malware and stuff like that. Whereas my coverage is more broad, so I have a general understanding of the broad picture, what are the overall trends and things like that. And this also applies to the various different roles. So that's something that everyone, each candidate has to decide for themselves whether they want to be very, very specialized and like be the expert in this very, very narrow field, and so go really in depth, or whether they want to have a more broader coverage. That is something that I'm not able to answer for anyone. So
they have to answer for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a picky question, or a sneaky question, a horrible one. A lot of the listings of jobs in cybersecurity require lots of years of expertise or previous experience. A lot of the people interested in cybersecurity would be fresh graduates or people with less experience. What's up with that? It's a new field, and we're expecting people to have 15, 20 years of experience. In some cases, I've seen those on LinkedIn. So what is up with that?
Not all.
Not all. I'm not saying all. Of course, there are sensible ones as well, but there seems to be an experience gap of what we expect people to know and what they can actually offer.
From our own perspective or experience, we can say that we've been looking for people of all types of experience levels. So senior people, as you're saying, but also people with medium or even with minimal or zero experience. So it really depends on what is the structure of the teams and which experience levels the different teams. Not just talking about us, but generally, what type of candidate they are looking for. We do work with universities. We offer internships, and so we have in the past hired a lot of people who basically we trained from the ground up. So we taught them the basics, and then they grew in the team and within the company, and so yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, and we also offer scholarships, I think, in some countries, which is pretty cool as well. Yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a picky question, but I do hear this sentiment a lot. A lot of people are asking this question. I think not just cybersecurity, but some other IT fields as well have this sort of issue that we expect too much. But what I'm hearing from you is don't get discouraged.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, try it anyways. It might be just for you. Before we started filming today, you told me that you once hired a 17-year-old who hasn't even finished high school at that time?
Yeah, a university diploma is not a requirement for joining our line of work. In very rare cases, he was very talented. He wanted a part-time job initially, and then continued working full-time. And it's not the requirement. We're not a government office where you have to check, okay, so you
Yeah.
have this diploma. And
Yeah.
so we're looking at your skills, of course, your interests, your passion, and all of that. If you have a degree, great, but it's not a requirement.
Exactly. And it's also not a whole pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of skills, what are the most in-demand skills in cybersecurity today?
In our specialization of malware analysis, it kind of evolves with what the threat actors are using. So when we're talking about programming languages and platforms and things like this has definitely been evolving from the past. So you'd have typical Windows binaries. So the specializations would be C, C++, codings, things like that. Nowadays, we're moving more and more towards cloud environments, so web-based applications. So this has been the case for years now, but kind of these are the trends, and this can then be translated to the required skill set. Of course, the AI buzz that is all around us. We have been doing research in this area for way before it was such a buzzword.
When was it implemented in our product?
1997 or 98?
Yeah.
So it's been a long time, but of course these it has been all the hype in recent years, but machine learning specifically is a very useful, very old, and also still very useful skill set, and very, very useful to specialize in. So that is definitely and will be sought after.
We also mentioned not just those technical parts of this job, but for example, what I do or what people like me do, which is communication. How important is it to be able to communicate what you do to the general audience?
It's very important.
I agree. Can you elaborate? Because I can talk about that for hours, but from your perspective.
It's very important on various different levels. So it's, and we already touched on that. So it's the increasing awareness, because I mean, to protect people from cyber threats, it's not just the technical means, but also eliminating the weak points behind the keyboard and the mouse, and raising awareness to the general public, from kids to teachers, seniors, and all kinds of age groups, all the way to explaining threats and risks to members of the board, so C-suites and all this. So communication is very important in our industry, and there are also various different roles doing that.
And it's also quite rewarding talking to kids about cybersecurity, because they'll ask the most unhinged questions, and they're the best. A lot of times when we speak to adults, they're kind of shy, and they don't want to sound stupid, because unfortunately sometimes life teaches us that you can ask stupid questions. This is not true, and kids know this, and it's so cool. So yeah, it brings us joy as well, I think, communicating these types of things. Some people say that millennials and older Gen Zs are the last generation to actually understand computers, and all the latter generations just were born into it, and it's the age of apps and everything's automized and so on. Do you think these kids that are now being born and now being brought up will be better at cybersecurity, or do you think they will lack that sense of, again, awareness of how things actually work because it just works?
I have no idea, but I would say I would go so far in saying that maybe I'm almost certain that cybersecurity in 10 years will be totally different from what it is now, but I can't imagine what it will be. So that's the exciting bit. You just have no idea what will be, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's fascinating to see that sort of shifts already happening at the moment. My last question to you, for anyone interested in a career in cybersecurity, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice?
As we've said a number of times, it's the field is very dynamic, and so you will not be standing in one place. You will continuously have to keep learning, so you have to continue being curious. And I would say, in order for you to be good in this field, then you have to want that, because not everyone does. So you have to want to continue learning, and it's not always easy.
At the beginning, it's not easy. If you don't have a technical background and you get into it, and all the names of the malwares and the APTs and all the acronyms, don't even get me started. But then it gets easier, and as you said, it changes every day. So yeah, I approve the message.
Yeah.
What will be second?
So that's the first one. The second one, we talked a lot about the different roles, the different specializations. My advice would be just pick something that you find interesting, and don't worry about not being the right choice on the first try. A lot of people that I've worked with, they change their focus, they change their specialization.
Yeah.
They can evolve, especially when they've been doing this type of work for a long time. As I said, they can go either more in depth into some specific field, or they can go broader. So it's not a problem for you to change your specialization. Just try something and figure out what will interest you. And the last thing I would say, it's all of this has been super serious. Like, you have to be curious, you have to want to be learning, but make sure you're enjoying yourself. Always keep it fun. Maintain a work-life balance. Don't be like me, as I was in the beginning, where I was staying in the office until 1 to 2 a.m. because I lost track of time, buried in code.
No.
So watch out for your mental health.
I was not like that.
Watch out for your mental health, burnout, and things like serious issues like these, and just remember to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it's a fun field, and I feel like the people working in it are pretty fun too. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those 3 pieces of advice, and not just that, for the whole episode. It's been really interesting, I think, hearing from a perspective of someone who's got into it in a maybe non-traditional way, and then now being also having people in your team and managing people and every single role that you do, and I feel like you do like 10 at the same time. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Next time, next year, next season.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You heard it here first. So remember to book your flight. Follow us on all of our social media. I hope you learned something new. I hope we inspired you to get into cybersecurity. And we'll see you next time. Bye.